Hello, Pastor Deborah here, and we're beginning another new episode of the Kingdom of Darkness, Spiritual Babylon. We've been working through a book I wrote years ago when I was having to learn and understand the Kingdom of Darkness and what it was. God had given me precious people from it. Multi-generational Satanists, witches, psychics, gang members, who are all a part of this kingdom of darkness, this spiritual Babylon. They were all Manchurian candidates. They all had multiple personalities. They all had spirits that were broken and yet trapped in spiritual Babylon, being moved in and out of their physical bodies all the time. And I was sent to them, to love them, to help them find freedom and light. So I had to study Satan, the adversary of God, who used to be called Lucifer, the son of the morning, the son of the first age of the kingdom of heaven, and his fall to the earth as lightning, when his heart was lifted up in pride, and lust, and greed. And he decided he was the king of the kingdom of heaven, and that he should get all glory, and everybody should bow down to him, even some new creatures called humans. And he wasn't going to tolerate it. And he never spoke this out to God, but God could hear him thinking. And God cast him down to the earth where we are as lightning. And from that time on, the earth has been a mess. Humanity and nature, the weather, animals have all been under his enslavement. So here in this episode number 37, we're going to continue to learn, how did Satan's kingdom of darkness on earth begin? And we're going to pick up where we left off, but first, let's open up with prayer. Dear God of the kingdom of heaven, God of creation, of love, joy, and peace, of righteousness and justice, and agape love, help us to understand our spiritual adversary here on the planet, here within us, here between us and nature, even in nature and weather itself. Help us to see what's going on sort of behind the curtains that we can't see with our natural eyes, or even understand with our biological brain, even our deep subconscious thoughts. Help us to see the spiritually hidden world, the kingdom of darkness, spiritual Babylon, and its king, Satan, your adversary and our adversary. Teach us, guide us through your wisdom and with your truth, so that we may know our true enemy and how to do battle here on earth for your glory, for the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness and justice. In your name, amen. All right? We are picking up, and as I said, in episode number 37, we had been talking about this guy named Lucifer. He was one of the three archangels of God. There is Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. Lucifer meant son of the morning, light bearer. But what he really was the son, the offspring of the first age of the kingdom of heaven, the spiritual territory that's unseen to our eyes. Well, his heart got lifted up because of all of his jewels of his body, which we'll talk about later, of his glory that God would speak into him and God's light shined out, and all of the honor that he was to pass on to God. He had built his own kingdom within himself, and his heart became the king. Lucifer's pride was lifted up to be the king of himself, not this God of the kingdom of heaven, his creator. Lucifer's pride desired to have a kingdom, and he would be its king. Lucifer's pride needed to crown himself, and he did, and place himself on the throne of his own heart Have you done that? Many of you have. Look at me, my accomplishments, my goals, what I have accomplished. And you lift me up. Every year you talk about me. This is my goals, my desires, my plans. This is all because of me. You got a heart just like Lucifer. Lucifer, the new king and lord of himself. He needed subjects to worship him and serve him. So now we begin episode number 37. You see, Lucifer knew the pattern for a kingdom. Being a king and what it meant. He had been in God's kingdom, called the kingdom of heaven, and he had served the king and this Lord, his Lord, the owner. Even in many earthly kingdoms we have kings who are lords, who they consider the land and the resources and everything and the people, the wealth as theirs. They're serving in the spiritual kingdom of darkness, not in the kingdom of heaven. Lucifer's kingdom began in his own heart, and he demanded worshipers. Lucifer's kingdom of himself desired the same things that God had. Yeah. Lucifer's kingdom had no other king but him. You can see examples and patterns of this throughout all of humanity's history. We still have some vestiges, some remaining examples of this, even now, here in the world. Well, God could not have any treason in his kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. His righteousness, his holiness, his justice, his light, his truth, his sinless essence would destroy all sin and the creature with it. So, out of God's presence, Lucifer would have to be cast out. You may be wondering how God knew what was going on in the very heart, mind, and thoughts of Lucifer. And that's a very good question, because it applies to you and all of humanity and to nature itself. Let's hear what God says about him and the heart. But the Lord said unto Samuel, he was a prophet of God, look not on his countenance. Samuel was looking at the young man named David. God had picked him to be the second king of ancient Israel. But Samuel was looking at his age. He was scrawny. He was nothing. And God says, don't you look at his outside appearance, his countenance, or how tall he is, or his stature. For I have not refused him. God does not look at your outside appearance. The first king, King Saul, was picked by Samuel because he was tall and mighty. I guess maybe very good looking. But God says, I don't look at that, and I've refused him. I've refused that Samuel. He has disobeyed me too many times. But I'm not going to look at the new king, this David, this young guy. I'm not going to look at his countenance, what he looks like on the outside. I'm not going to look at his Instagrams. I'm not going to look at his pictures or his posts, or how maybe good looking he is, or how rich he is, or how high he is. I'm not going to look at that. For the Lord, he says, sees not as man sees. For man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. Now, some people think the heart is your subconscious, your thoughts, and it's not. It's your spirit. And from your spirit, these thoughts shine out to your soul. So God can look at your soul, your heart, and see what kind of spirit you have and what kind of thoughts you're having. And that is out of the Authorized King James Bible in 1 Samuel 1:7. Now let's hear another word. My God, that you try the heart. 1 Chronicles 29:16. God's going to look at your heart, your thoughts, even those that are hidden off. How many of you know you got multiple personalities in there? You are more than just one. You might have an outside part that we all see. And you have a intimate part that you only share with intimacy with partners. You might have a father part, a mother part, a business part. You might have one that's just at home. Maybe just with your buddies or your friends or your besties. Or maybe you have one that's on now, social media. But that's not the real you. God can look and see if you're a Manchurian candidate. Do you have multiple personalities? Do you have a dark side and a light side part? He can look inside your subconscious mind. And he could look at your spirit and tell what kind of person you are. So he says, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at your Instagram photos. I'm not looking at your social media platforms. I'm not looking at your pictures. I'm not looking at what you do. I'm looking at why you do it. I'm looking at who you're doing it for. What's your purposes? I'm looking deep. That is what Samuel was told by God. He tries, he tests, he looks at our mind, our thoughts, our feelings, our goals, our desires. Well, he can see what you are hiding. Thus are the secrets of his heart made known to God. 1 Corinthians 1:14-25. If I ask God what you're thinking about, who you really are, he can tell me. He can look. He knows why you do what you do, who you're serving, even though you lie to us maybe on the cameras or you lie on social media. He knows what is really going on, and if I need to ask him, he'll tell me because I'm one of his trusted servants. In Jeremiah 17:10, we are told, I, the Lord, search the heart. Don't you ever think just because you don't talk to us, he can't search your heart, your thoughts, in your soul, in your biological brain. And he can search your spirit. Those are two different worlds. The heart, the place of God's Eden for some of us. The place of God's kingdom. It was originally in Lucifer. The place of God's lordship in the heart of Lucifer. The place of the very middle, the center of God's throne, original in Lucifer. The place in the very middle of it, the place of fellowship. Lucifer used to fellowship with God, talk with, sing with, be a friend with, a partner with. The heart, the place of worship, where you bow down and you say, thank you, God, my Creator. And you bow in worship in your thoughts. It's the place of truth and light, the place of love of the Father, your Creator, the place of the love of the King, the heart, the place where Lucifer became a traitor. The heart, the place where high treason was committed against its king, the king of the kingdom of heaven. The heart of Lucifer, the place of violence towards his Lord. The heart of Lucifer, the place of pride. The heart of Lucifer, the place where the land became a wilderness. God left. God took his glory, his gifts, his light, his truth, gone out of Lucifer's heart. The heart of Lucifer, the place where the land was now dry. There was no rivers of living water flowing into it. No milk of the word, no warmth, no rain. The heart of Lucifer, the place where the land was not yielding its strength for food, for nourishment, for new knowledge and truth to Lucifer. The heart of Lucifer, the place where the land was now barren. There was no God, no light, no truth, no beauty, just hate and greed, lust, more greed, lies, and even murderous thoughts towards his Creator. The heart of Lucifer became the place of darkness, confusion, ignorance, hate. The heart of Lucifer, the place of the kingdom of darkness, spiritual, Babylon. The heart, the place of a dominion of a king and lord. Lucifer became Satan. When his heart became prideful and lifted up, he replaced God of creation, the God of the kingdom of heaven, in his own heart, and he dethroned the king, the Lord. The heart of Lucifer, the throne room of a lord. Satan became Lord of his own life. If we look at God's heart compared to Lucifer's, God's heart is the throne room of a lord, the Holy of Holies, the seat of authority, the place to receive worship, the place of receiving and giving living spiritual food. Lucifer's heart became a barren, dry place. He had dethroned God. He had kicked God out of the Holy of Holies, his heart, and he put himself on his own throne as the seat of his own authority. There in his heart he would receive worship and praise, and he would only eat the food of lust and greed and pride, darkness and confusion and perversion. And my question to you, has that happened to you? Is that your heart now? Your spiritual heart, as well as your heart, your mind, and your soul? That's my question here in this episode. And we're going to hear in the next episode what God did to Lucifer and why he became Satan. All right, I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Pastor Deborah. Bye-bye.